Get your dirty hands off my daughter right now. Harrison Blackstone's voice echoed through the mansion like thunder, causing the crystals on the chandelier to vibrate on the ceiling. He had arrived an hour early from the board meeting when he heard something impossible, his 9-year-old daughter Isabella laughing. Not the forced laughter of expensive physical therapists, but genuine laughter that cut through his heart like a knife. Harrison rushed to the sunroom and stopped abruptly. His daughter, confined to a wheelchair for 8 months since the accident that killed his wife, was smiling as Malik Williams, the 35-year-old black gardener hired 2 months ago, danced around her with technical movements that were definitely not those of a gardener. How did a gardener master therapeutic dance techniques that Manhattan experts couldn't teach? Malik gently held Isabella's hands, guiding her in synchronized movements as soft music played on his cell phone. The girl moved her arms with a grace Harrison hadn't seen since the accident, her eyes sparkling with a life he thought was lost forever. What the hell do you think you're doing? Harrison lunged forward, furious. Malik stopped immediately, letting go of Isabella's hands. The girl's smile vanished, replaced by terror. Malik remained calm, his hands raised in peace. Mr. Blackstone, I can explain. Isabella asked me to. You were hired to garden, not to play with my daughter. Harrison interrupted, his voice laden with indignation that came from places deeper than paternal protection. Get your things and get out before I call security. Why does Harrison react so violently to something that clearly helps Isabella? Isabella began to cry. Daddy, please. Malik was teaching me to dance like other children. He said I can fly even while sitting down. You can't dance. Harrison exploded. You're in a wheelchair. The sooner you accept that, the better for everyone. Malik flinched but remained silent. There was something in his eyes, not anger, but a deep understanding that Harrison couldn't decipher. As if he knew the kind of pain that made parents react this way. What experience allows Malik to understand Harrison's pain so deeply? Can we talk in private? Malik asked calmly, with a polite accent Harrison had never noticed before. There's nothing to discuss. You're fired. Malik nodded, but before leaving, he knelt down to Isabella's height. Remember the butterflies, little ballerina? Some fly differently, but they all touch the sky. What secret connection exists between Malik and the Blackstone family? As Malik walked toward the exit with disturbing serenity, Harrison noticed something unsettling. The man seemed neither surprised nor desperate, as one would expect from someone who had just been fired. There was a calmness in his movements, as if he knew something Harrison didn't. Isabella continued to cry. Why did you fire him? He made me feel normal. He said Mom would be proud to see me dance. Harrison felt a punch in the stomach. 8 months ago, he had hired the best specialists money could buy. None of them had been able to get a smile out of Isabella until a gardener she had known for 8 weeks showed up. Watching Isabella dry her tears, Harrison wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. There was something about that gardener that didn't fit, something that set off alarm bells in his analytical mind, but not the kind he expected. 3 hours later, alone in his office while Isabella refused dinner for the 3rd time, Harrison couldn't forget Malik's serene expression when he was fired. It was the expression of a man who knew exactly what he was doing, and Harrison suspected that the game was much more complex than he had imagined. If you're feeling the tension building and want to discover secrets that could transform this story of prejudice, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because what Harrison finds out about Malik will shock you as much as it shocked him. 3 days later, the mansion had returned to the deathly silence that had preceded Malik's arrival. Harrison threw himself obsessively into his work, convinced that he had protected Isabella from inappropriate influences, but she was not cooperating with his plan for normality. Isabella refused to leave her room, rejected meals, and cried when she heard the new gardener's lawnmower. Physical therapists reported total resistance. She closed her eyes and refused to participate. Why didn't Malik come back? Isabella asked for the 15th time, tears staining her silk pillowcase. He promised to teach me the part where butterflies fly higher. We've talked about this, Harrison replied, adjusting his Hermes tie. He wasn't right for her. But he understood me. He said his daughter also danced on a chair before she became an angel. Harrison paused. Malik had mentioned a daughter? And became an angel? Malik understands Harrison's pain because he also lost a daughter with a disability. At that moment, Malik was in his kitchen answering emails on a laptop that was incompatible with his modest apartment. The screen showed correspondence in English, French, and Portuguese, communications impossible for a simple gardener. The phone rang. "Dr. Williams," said a voice in French, "Yale confirms your availability for a conference on childhood neuroplasticity." "I need to postpone," Malik replied in the same language, looking at a photo of Isabella. "I have a special case." Harrison had never properly investigated Malik Williams. If he had, he would have discovered that the gardener had a PhD in neuroscience from the Sorbonne, specialized in music therapy for children with neurological trauma, and abandoned a promising academic career after a personal tragedy. Malik is not a gardener. He is an international neuroscientist in disguise. David, his personal assistant, entered with a worried expression. "Mr. Blackstone, there's something strange about the gardener who was fired." "What about him?" "He didn't contest his dismissal, didn't ask for references, and didn't collect his last paycheck." David hesitated. "I found out that he has advanced academic training. He speaks 5 languages and has worked with special needs children in European hospitals." Harrison's stomach tightened. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because you didn't ask for a full background check. You said you just needed a gardener." Malik is skilled in therapeutic dance because he is a neuroscientist specializing in child rehabilitation. Later that afternoon, Harrison found Isabella just as he had left her, motionless, staring out the window. "Who are you talking to, sweetheart?" "The butterflies in the garden. Malik taught me that some fly differently, but they all land on the flowers." Those were Malik's last words before he left. In the garden, Harrison found a leather briefcase forgotten on the bench where Malik used to take breaks. Expecting gardening documents, he discovered medical articles on childhood paralysis, music therapy techniques, and handwritten notes on case IB. Isabella Blackstone's initials. The notes were scientific, revealing knowledge far beyond that of any gardener. There were diagrams of neuromotor exercises, adapted musical progressions, and a treatment plan spanning several months. At the end, a faded photo, a young man in a lab coat next to a blonde woman in a hospital, both smiling. The woman had Isabella's blue eyes, the same face. It was Victoria, his dead wife. The photo was dated 4 years ago, Paris. On the back, Dr. Malik Williams, Pediatric Neuroplasticity. Victoria Blackstone Treatment. Promising results before interruption. Malik knows the family because he treated Victoria. His presence is no coincidence. Malik has known the family since Victoria's treatment in Paris. Harrison dropped the photo, his hands shaking. Malik wasn't a qualified gardener by chance. He knew Victoria, had treated his wife, and now he had mysteriously appeared when Isabella needed him most. Every harsh word, every look of contempt took on a different meaning. The man who had been cruelly fired was not an opportunist. He was possibly the only doctor who really knew how to help Isabella. The next morning, Harrison canceled meetings and hired the best private investigator. "I want everything on Malik Williams. Every document from the last 15 years. Isabella had taken a turn for the worse. She had an unexplained fever, refused to eat, and her hands were shaking. It was as if she was rejecting life without the only person who had reconnected her mind to joy. Dr. Peterson left the room shaking his head. It's as if she's lost the will to fight. Traumatized children develop specific attachments. When those are abruptly broken, the result is psychologically devastating. Are you suggesting that my daughter is sick because I fired the gardener? I'm suggesting that you drastically underestimated the importance of that person. If we don't reverse this quickly, we could lose all the progress we've made." Harrison looked at the room where his daughter was wasting away, realizing that his arrogance and prejudice had not only offended an extraordinary man, but possibly condemned Isabella to unnecessary despair. The terrifying question, was it possible to fix what he had broken, or had his pride cost Isabella her only real chance at happiness? The investigation report arrived by encrypted email. Harrison locked himself in his office, watching his certainties crumble page after page. Dr. Malik Williams had graduated in medicine in Sao Paulo, specialized in pediatric neurology at the Sorbonne, and worked for 8 years at the Necron-Fon Malades Hospital in Paris, the same hospital where Victoria had undergone treatment that Harrison never knew existed. There was more. Malik had lost his own daughter, 7-year-old Luna Williams, in an accident 3 years ago. The girl had been paralyzed 6 months before she died. After the tragedy, Malik abandoned traditional medicine to develop techniques through music and movement. The report included scientific articles, international citations, and a French interview in which Malik mentioned his intention to find other children like Luna, offering them a second chance to smile. My job is not to heal bodies, it's to heal souls. Sometimes that means disguising who you are to get where you need to be. Harrison called Malik, his hands shaking. The phone rang before a calm voice answered, I know who you are. Why didn't you say so from the start? Because men like you don't hire black ex-doctors for gardening. They hire gardeners. Isabella needed someone close by with no suspicions or medical expectations. What game are you playing? Malik sighed. Your wife Victoria came to me 8 months before the accident, researching treatments for infantile paralysis. Impossible. Isabella was born healthy. She was born healthy, but Victoria discovered a genetic risk through testing. She was preparing a preventive plan in case something happened. She asked me to promise to help Isabella if necessary. Harrison felt the ground disappear beneath him. Victoria had hidden a medical secret and prepared for a tragedy that never happened. You're lying. It's in the will, page 17, which the lawyers classified as anxious mother's concerns. Harrison opened digital files, navigating to the ignored page. In the event of neurological trauma affecting Isabella, contact Dr. Malik Williams, specialist in unconventional therapies. Methods appear unorthodox, but work where traditional medicine fails. My God, Harrison whispered. David appeared with documents. I found records of payments your wife made to a clinic in Paris. Automatic debits until last month. Victoria had been paying the clinic where Malik had worked as a consultant for years, a connection Harrison had never noticed. He was watching us, waiting to be needed. Harrison realized the magnitude of his arrogance. He had humiliatingly fired the only man Victoria had specifically chosen to care for Isabella. He had treated him like an opportunistic doctor who had abandoned a brilliant career to fulfill a promise to a dead woman. He called again. Malik, I need you to come back. It doesn't work that way. I'm not an employee you can fire and rehire. I'm a doctor who made a sacred promise. What do you want from me? Stop controlling Isabella's treatment and participate in it. Admit that you don't know what's best for her. And apologize, not to me, to her. Harrison swallowed his pride like bitter medicine. If I do that, maybe Isabella will still have a chance to smile for real. A notification on his phone, a message from an unknown number. Isabella asked me to send this. A 2-minute video showed Isabella smiling, moving her arms to the rhythm of a soft melody. Her legs were still, swaying slightly. Malik appeared briefly, guiding her with infinite patience. That's right, Isabella. Feel the music connecting your brain to the parts that work perfectly. Your mother would be proud. The accompanying message was devastating. She recorded this when she still believed you loved her more than your own pride. Harrison watched it 5 times, each viewing revealing Malik's medical expertise and Isabella's genuine transformation. This wasn't recreational dancing, it was neurorehabilitation in disguise, cutting-edge science-based therapy. For 3 hours, he confronted a brutal reality. He had nearly destroyed the only real chance of recovery because of unconscious biases. He had judged Malik based on superficial characteristics, projecting racial and class stereotypes. At 6 p.m., he made a life-changing decision. He would not call and apologize over the phone. He wouldn't send David as an intermediary. He would go in person to face the man he had unjustly humiliated and do something he hadn't done in decades, admit he was completely wrong. First, he would have an honest conversation with Isabella. He would explain that the man she had grown to love wasn't just any gardener. He was a medical specialist who had known her mother, lost his own daughter, and dedicated his life to helping children like her. Perhaps with enough luck and humility, he could still repair the damage before it was too late to save not only Isabella's recovery, but his own soul, wasted on destructive prejudices. As he headed to Isabella's room, he carried the weight of wrong decisions and a new determination, not to control but to learn. For the first time, he had the courage to admit that he needed help from someone he had judged incorrectly. Across town, Malik looked at Luna's photo on his desk. One more, little angel. We'll save one more. Harrison drove to the apartment complex without warning, carrying the investigation report and the weight of humility he had never experienced before. He found Malik on the terrace, reading a medical article in French as if he had been expecting him. The simplicity of the apartment contrasted with the intellectual sophistication of its occupant. "Did you plan this all along?" Harrison said bluntly. Malik closed the magazine and gestured to a chair. "Sit down. It's time we talked like two fathers who have lost more than they can bear." "No." Harrison exploded, throwing the report on the table. "You lied about who you were. You manipulated my family. You used my wife's memory to fulfill a promise I made to her," Malik interrupted firmly. "A promise you never knew about because she knew your limitations better than you did." Harrison pointed furiously. "I know everything. About Luna, your daughter. How you abandoned medicine after her death. How you use other children to compensate for your own loss." Malik didn't deny it. "You're right about one thing. Every child I help brings Luna back to me for a moment. But if you think that diminishes my genuine love for Isabella, you're deeply mistaken. How dare you talk about love? You're a strange infiltrator." Malik stood up and took a yellowed letter from a drawer. "Your wife wrote this to me 6 months before the accident. She asked me to give it to you when absolutely necessary." Harrison recognized Victoria's handwriting and read with trembling hands. "Richard, if Malik gives you this letter, our daughter needs him, and you are fighting against the only real help available. Stop controlling Isabella's treatment. Malik lost his own daughter, but he can save ours. Put your pride aside." The words cut like knives, revealing a deep understanding of his limitations. "Why didn't Victoria ever tell me?" "Because she knew you would reject the unconventional treatment proposed by a black doctor," Malik replied brutally. "Victoria spent months researching my reputation. She knew your prejudices better than you did." Harrison's phone rang. "Carla, the nurse," her voice heavy with panic, "you need to come right away. Isabella got out of bed by herself and is trying to walk without support. She refuses to stop until Malik returns. She's hurting her legs." "I'm on my way," Harrison said. "You're coming with me. Not as an employee. As your daughter's doctor, the man chosen by your wife, someone who will no longer accept being treated as inferior." During the silent drive, Harrison asked the burning question, "What do you really want from me?" Malik looked at the mansions passing by as symbols of a world that had rejected him despite his competence. "Stop seeing my color before my ability. Stop assuming that because I'm a black man tending a garden, I can't be qualified to care for your daughter. And admit something that's obvious to everyone but you." "What?" "That you paid a fortune for the best specialists, but fired the only one who got results because he didn't look like what you expected a doctor to look like." The words hit Harrison like punches, forcing him to confront his unconscious prejudices. They arrived at the mansion to find Isabella in the hallway, leaning precariously on a chair, her feet on the floor, trying to take painful steps. Tears were streaming down her face, but she didn't stop. "Stop." Harrison ran, but she raised her hand. "No, Daddy. I need to show Malik that I did it. Prove that I didn't give up like you said." The words echoed like accusations that shattered Harrison's heart. She had internalized his cruel reaction, turning denial into self-destructive determination. Malik approached slowly, kneeling with infinite patience. "I always knew you could do it, little butterfly. But you don't have to hurt yourself to prove anything to me." "Are you leaving again?" Malik looked at Harrison, who understood that this was not the time to hire an employee. It was about swallowing his pride completely, admitting his prejudices, acknowledging his total mistake. "Dr. Williams," Harrison said, using his title for the first time, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to apologize for what I did. I don't know how to make up for prejudice, arrogance, complete ignorance." He knelt down beside Malik, looking directly into the eyes of the unjustly humiliated man. "But if there's still a chance, if you can forgive a desperate father who judged you for everything except what matters, I'd like to ask, not as your boss, but as someone who finally understands, that you come back and help my daughter be happy." Malik studied Harrison's face, seeing beyond the arrogance to find something rare in men of power, genuine humility and real regret. "Only if you promise me one thing." "Anything." "The next time you teach Isabella to dance, you will dance too. Because she needs a father who accepts her for who she is and celebrates her achievements, not her limitations. Harrison reacted violently because deep racial prejudices prevented him from accepting that a black man was more qualified. Isabella smiled, not forced but radiant, as she did during their secret sessions. "Will you both teach me to fly?" Harrison took her right hand, Malik her left. There in the hallway of the cold mansion, an unlikely alliance began. A billionaire learning to see beyond prejudice and a doctor who had sacrificed everything to keep his promises and save children. "Dr. Williams, when do we start real treatment?" Malik smiled for the first time since his dismissal. "We start now, Harrison." The first step in Isabella's healing is for her father to learn that medical competence has no color, and that the best professionals come in disguise because the world is not ready to see them as they are. At that moment, 3 lives became intertwined in a way that would change not only the future of a girl learning to fly while sitting down, but also the perspective of a man discovering that true wealth is measured by the ability to recognize human value regardless of packaging. 2 years later, the Blackstone Mansion had become the epicenter of a silent revolution that was changing lives beyond Connecticut. What was once an isolated luxury property now housed the International Center for Neuroplasticity and Art Therapy, a pioneering collaboration between the Blackstone Foundation and Dr. Malik Williams, serving 200 families annually and a global reference in rehabilitation through movement and music. Isabella, 11, not only walked with special orthopedic equipment, but had become the youngest co-author of 3 scientific articles on childhood neuroplasticity in international journals. Her vibrant personality made her a natural ambassador for the revolutionary idea that physical limitations could be transformed into unique superpowers. "Today we're going to teach a new girl from Guatemala," Isabella announced as she entered the office converted into an administrative center. "She's scared because she lost her family in an accident, but I'm going to show her that dancing while seated is special because we fly with our hearts." Harrison smiled, remembering when dancing in a wheelchair seemed offensive to him. Now, 24 children danced in the gardens transformed into a therapeutic space, laughter echoing through corridors that had once known only silence. Dr. Malik Williams had become more than a doctor. He was the brother Harrison never knew he had and an example that competence came in challenging forms. During interviews, Harrison told the raw truth. "I almost destroyed my daughter's only real chance at happiness because I judged an extraordinary doctor by the color of his skin. My prejudice almost cost Isabella irreplaceable years." The question always asked, "How did you overcome your differences?" "We didn't. I had to admit I was completely wrong. Malik never had to change. I was the one who learned to see beyond my own prejudices." The center operated with a unique philosophy born of experience. Each family was cared for not only by doctors, but by other parents who had gone through similar journeys. Harrison guided parents struggling to accept their children's new reality, while Malik oversaw protocols replicated in dozens of hospitals worldwide. Harrison lost elitist friends who did not accept a genuine partnership with a black doctor, but he found an authentic community among the families he served. "Building human bridges is infinitely more rewarding than accumulating figures," Harrison said in a viral lecture at Harvard. "When I saw Malik for who he really was, a brilliant doctor who had sacrificed his career to save children, I didn't just save Isabella. I saved myself from a life wasted in arrogance." The repercussions reached international scale. The Williams-Blackstone Protocol was implemented from Sao Paulo to Singapore. Malik returned to academia as a visiting professor at Yale, training therapists who would understand that healing transcended traditional protocols. Isabella became a minor celebrity in pediatric medicine, not because of her condition, but because of her intelligence and ability to articulate her experiences to other children. At age 11, she spoke at 3 international conferences, always emphasizing, being different means flying in a unique way that only you know. Dr. Patricia Morrison, the neurologist who had discouraged hope, became an advocate for the program. "In 25 years, I have never witnessed such a complete transformation. What Harrison and Malik have created transcends traditional medicine. They have proven that by removing social barriers, we discover unimaginable possibilities." The graduation ceremony for the 3rd class was particularly significant. 28 children had completed the intensive program, each demonstrating unique achievements. Isabella opened the ceremony with a special performance, moving with a grace that combined medical technique and artistic expression, dancing a routine that told the story of a butterfly discovering that different flights could be more beautiful. 3 years ago, I believed I would never be happy because my legs didn't work like other children's, Isabella said into the microphone, her voice echoing through the room filled with families, doctors, and journalists from around the world. Today I know that being special doesn't mean being the same, it means discovering your own superpowers. Harrison improvised a speech from the heart. 3 years ago, I was a man rich in money but poor in understanding. I almost destroyed my daughter's life because I couldn't see beyond my own prejudices. Dr. Malik Williams taught me that competence has no color, wisdom can come in disguise, and extraordinary people arrive in ways that defy basic expectations. He looked directly at Malik. Malik didn't just save Isabella. He saved me from a wasted life judging people by superficial characteristics. Now together we have proven that when we tear down barriers instead of building them, when we celebrate differences instead of fearing them, we all become stronger and more human. The ovation lasted 10 minutes. Harrison saw tears from parents who had arrived disbelieving and now saw their children thriving beyond imagination. After the ceremony, in the garden where it all began, Harrison, Malik, and Isabella sat together. The same rose bushes that Malik had tended as a gardener now framed a therapeutic space where children from around the world learned that limitations could be transformed into freedoms. Do you know what's most amazing? Isabella asked, watching the stars come out. What? They both asked. That Mom knew this would happen. She put you in my life knowing that you would discover how to work together to help me fly. Harrison nodded, feeling grateful for the woman who was wise enough to foresee limitations and brave enough to let a plan overcome them. And now we're going to help 1,000 other children discover that they can fly too, each in their own special way, Isabella said, her determination reminiscent of Victoria and Malik. Harrison had learned that true wealth was not measured in property, but in the ability to recognize human value regardless of packaging. The most important lesson, when we have the courage to admit our prejudices and the humility to learn from those we underestimate, we not only change our lives, we create transformative waves reaching unimaginable places. 5 years after that inappropriate dance was violently interrupted, Isabella was dancing before international audiences, proving that the most beautiful performances happen when special people receive the support they deserve. Harrison had become something he never imagined, a man who measured success not by his ability to accumulate, but by his ability to include, recognize, and celebrate, transforming prejudices into bridges to a world where every child could discover their unique superpowers. If this story of transformation touched your heart and made you rethink how we see value in the people around us, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to remember that competence and wisdom have no color, social class, or specific appearance. Because the best revolutions begin when we choose to see beyond the packaging and recognize the greatness that exists in every human being, regardless of how the world has labeled or limited them.